Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott and we are starting strong this week. Filmmaker, researcher, Dean Aliotto is going to join us here momentarily from his home in California to talk all things UFOs, from his films to what is going on right now. This man is somebody I've been following for a long, long time. To me, he's brilliant, and I think he's going to pass it off to you tonight. And, of course, we have each and every one of you in the chat room tonight, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a silver, Race Fan taking home the bronze medal tonight, Eternity Eternal and Paramarv. How you guys doing? Thank you for coming on in. Hi there, Bar Madison and Robert Lamoth. Road Flare, nice to see you. Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show about aliens nice and smooth, and Mel is preparing us for that. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you tonight? Good to see you. Jeffrey Green, what's happening, my friend? Jeffrey Green will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Necessary Dialogue and Mama Catherine, mwah, I love you, my dear. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I know you're going to have a wonderful night listening to Dean tonight. I promise you. It's going to be amazing. All right, scrolling on down. Next, let's say hello to Jaquetta. Thank you for joining us tonight. And who's next? Let's see here. Scrolling on down. Up next, we have Anil. Anil, how are you tonight? Anil will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Be gentle. It's Anil's first time signing autographs, so just go easy on him. All right, moving on down, we say hello to JSCO and Dirty Filth. Flubber Lane, nice to see you. Walter Kochabinski, thanks for coming on in. Hi there, Carol Amerio and Thomas Rock. Monica, how are you tonight? As we continue on with our roll call, Cosmic Joe, thank you for joining us. And who's next on our list? Well, it's Pam Harris. Thank you, Pam, for coming on in. Cody Eiler, nice to see you. J Truthseeker, Emperor Penguin, thank you for coming on in. We continue on with our roll call. Peace World, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. And who is next on our list? It's Ozzy. Nice to see you. Super Crazy and JMJ12, thank you for joining us. Jerence Carter, nice to have you in tonight. Smokes a lot. Good to see you. Hi there, Eva. Nice to see you tonight. Kitty, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, Kitty, very, very much for your nightly love. I appreciate it. As we continue on with our roll call here, we are caught up right now, which means we should probably start the radio side. Hold on. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in as filmmaker and researcher Dean Aliotto is going to be an amazing guest for you guys tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about UFOs, ETs, and so much more with him as the night goes on. We are in roll call right now on our YouTube side, and currently, hard to believe, we are caught up right now. We got caught up early. We totally did. This is rare for us, but nonetheless, I do want to remind all of you that the super chat is open on our YouTube side. It is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Hi there, Bombshell Bomber. How are you? And you could join our YouTube membership. So go check it on out. And we got about 28 seconds before we're going to launch. I also want to remind you that you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You could check us on out. You can wear our clothing in public and you'll look good in it. I promise you. You'll totally look good. So go check it out at spacedoutradio.com. It's that time of the night where I say hello to all of you. Do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We are going to have an amazing show talking UFOs for the next couple of hours. Filmmaker Dean Aliotto is here to talk about the phenomena. What's flying in the sky? How is this affecting people? And so much more. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller joins us for another spooky story. Right after that, we are going to get right into the UFO report with the wizard, Josh Rutledge. Yeah, it's going to be a great night indeed. So make sure you keep us going here because we're going to need it. All right. Dean Aliotto is an award-winning film and TV documentarian who has produced numerous specials for A&E, Bravo, and Fox, as well as consulted on the hit James Fox UFO documentary, The Phenomena. Recently, Dean has been featured in the Paramount Documentary Unknown Dimensions as a creator of the first ever found footage of the McPherson Tape and the enigmatic Paramount TV movie Alien Abduction incident in Lake County. This man is all over the place, and if you follow him on X and all over social media, you know you're getting great answers to it. So let's just shut me up. Let's bring Dean on in. Dean Aliotto, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I'm telling you, this has been way too long in the making. I'm humbled that you are here with us.
Let's just stop right there because it's not going to get better than that. I am very grateful to be here, brother.
Well, I can tell you, I have been following you for a number of years in everything.
Yeah, the restraining order just came through. So again, remember, it's 50 feet.
I know. I'm sorry. You know, and I promise, you know, I will stay 100 yards away when I'm in California next. How about that?
Perfect.
Excellent. Just leave me an autograph. That's all I want.
Sure.
That's all I ask for. Dean, you love this subject. And, you know, you could make films, documentaries on anything you want because as a filmmaker, you have the free will to pretty much do that. why have you focused a lot of your career on UFOs, aliens, alien abduction? Because you have to love it in order to do it.
Yeah, it's weird. I keep trying to reverse engineer what the gateway drug was that got me here, and I do know it started probably with In Search of, the Leonard Nimoy series that kind of exposed me to things like Bigfoot, Bermuda Triangle, and certainly UFOs. And then I remember as a kid seeing Chariots of the Gods. And so it was there, and then Unsolved Mysteries. And so it was kind of always there. And as a filmmaker, Spielberg, he was the guy. He was my guy. And so when Close Encounters came out and I saw a film, and I was young, but I couldn't understand how there's no bad guys in this movie. And you don't see a single alien until the end of the film. And yet spoiler alert, and yet I'm completely in rapture watching this. I'm in awe the whole time. And then when E.T. came out, that was it for me. I mean, I came home, I told my mother, I said, I'm a filmmaker, because I was the, jacked up middle kid who dreamed of aliens, divorced mother raising, 3 kids on her own. So it showed the magic side of the broken family. And so that combination got me, set me on my journey here.
The idea that with this subject, you can kind of go anywhere you want. If you want to go fiction, if you want to go nonfiction, it really does allow the imagination to absolutely wander. What do you prefer as a filmmaker? You prefer telling the real stories, or do you love the fact that, you could strive to make the next Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which in my opinion, it's time for that. We haven't really had that since.
Well, it's funny you say that, because the last time I had COVID, I actually wrote a sequel to on spec to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and called imaginatively Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. And I can tell you that the movie opened with Banksy, the artist, the street artist, yeah. Banksy, at the foundation of the Eiffel Tower, spray painting, stenciling Devil's Tower. And that's how, it opened. But we are due for that. To get specifically to your question, I like to do both. One feeds the other. I mean, my first film was about a family that gets abducted by UFOs, and that was greatly influenced by the Kelly Hopkinsville story, as well as Communion. The details of that that came from the specifics, came from the gray aliens and Communion. And so that was it. I had to make my first film by 25. And so I went out, and for $6,500, I shot this thing in essentially one night. And then it was a first found footage film 10 years before Blair Witch. And then someone more clever than me edited off the credits and injected it to the UFO community. So for 5 years, it was believed to be real, and ended up at the International UFO Congress Convention. And it got so crazy, I went on national TV and debunked my own film on this Fox show called Encounters. And then I ended up remaking it a few years later for UPN, and called Alien Abduction, Incident in Lake County. But the thing was, I did those, and then I would do, regular documentaries. I had never done a UFO documentary until for the 25th anniversary of the McPherson Tape, my first film. The original title was called UFO Abduction, by the way. I went to the same festival, the same convention that showed it. And I met extremely credible people. Not that I thought that it was all woo-woo, but I just hadn't met the caliber of professors who all of a sudden started gravitating towards this field. So that got me going. And what I usually do whenever I'm doing a fiction film is I have an idea for an idea, and it's in a certain genre. And so the first thing I do is I ask myself, what is it that everyone has done in the genre or is doing right now? Let's run to the other end. And that's where I came up with the idea of doing a UFO documentary, not from the human's perspective, which is all we know and what everyone does, but to do it from the alien's perspective as a hypothetical. And because of that, I was able to bring in Michio Kaku and Dr. Michael P. Masters, and a whole bunch of great people. The guy who was involved in creating CRISPR, he came on. And so anyway, it just keeps grabbing you and pulling you. And as you know, you've been at this very long. Like my answer, very long. And And so, here we are.
I love Dr. Michael P. Masters. He's a good friend of this show. Very
Yeah.
good friend. And I tell you, I made the awesome choice one day of sending him and his family t-shirts from this show. And he was so happy. I guess they went on a family vacation to Europe somewhere, and he's taking pictures with his UFO shirt on from my show, and sending them to me at all these really cool places, right? So I mean, the guy's
Nice.
just a class act. He really is.
Yeah. And he's also a little bit of a goofball. He has sent me in the past used Frisbees, and I forgot what else he sent me. He's really funny. How I met him is he had never done a show before, I believe. And I saw him at International UFO Congress Convention. This is 2019. And I kept walking by his table, and he's hawking his book, his first book. And I said, all right, what are you hawking? And he said, oh, they're from the future. And I go, yeah. He goes, yeah. And I go, okay, come with me. And then I shoved him in front of the camera, and we just played with the elasticity of the phenomenon for like 2 hours. And it was so good, I've put him in like 2 or 3 of my docs.
For you, when you are looking at a film, and like you said, sometimes you work the opposite ends of everything. How do you know what's a good topic and what's not? Because one thing that I've known about this field after the almost 11 years that I've been doing this show is there's a lot of copycat going on. And, right now the flavor is YouTube. And YouTube, I mean, people are hiring editors and they're making it like it's their own mini television studio. And it's absolutely incredible, some of the work that is going on out there. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little jealous. I am, because I have a face for radio and a voice for print. And, but some of the work that people are doing and becoming creative is so great. For you, how do you find a new subject when there's so much copycatting going on?
Easy. First and foremost, not easy. I'm being facetious. It is a challenge, but the first thing I do is I start with myself as an audience member. And, the first question is, what do I want to see? Because I'm going to have to spend the time to make this and interviewing people. And then I've got to recreate the stories, the fantastic stories that I hear. And so, in order to do that, I didn't want to do the usual impressionistic, blurry camera, out of focus, recreation. So I got this guy who did a fantastic film that won the Oscar, documentary called Searching for Sugarman, got him to do the animation. So all the animation in my films are top-notch by people who actually put us into situations. Just a brief example is the Tic Tac. Well, we've all heard the Tic Tac story, right? So for me, I'm bored with that. But when I think about the Tic Tac, I think about this little thing moving back and forth, this little hash mark that to me just looks like Pong, the Atari game Pong. So
Yeah.
I want to be in the cockpit with Commander Dave Fravor. And so my animator was like, let's get in the cockpit. We can absolutely do that. And so you're seeing it from perspectives that hasn't been really displayed at all. And so that's exciting for me, because now I can actually see it and take it in. And I'm such a visual person that I need that. And so I ask questions that I am assuming that a lot of us would like to ask, that some documentaries, not all, there's a lot of great documentaries, they don't ask. And so that's an opportunity for me to say, all right, how come no one's ever asked this? No one's ever asked that. And so that's the kind of carrot that is dangling before me. But to be honest, I was just supposed to do one documentary. And I thought, I'm going to bang this out in 9 months, 15 interviews. Thank you very much. Say my piece in this space and move on and go back to making movies. And that's not how the phenomenon works. Not at all. It grabs you and you talk to one person. We start out at NASA, and NASA's like, yeah, we don't have the answer to that question. You have to go here. So now we're there. And then pretty soon, I'm at 67 interviews, 7 years have gone by, and I've got 4 documentaries that are here, and 4 countries that we went to. It was just nuts. And so, I literally feel like I'm kind of being dragged more than I'm dragging this.
Are you an experiencer, or are you just in love with the topic?
I'm just in love, man. That's all I am. I'm just in love. It's interesting. My mother saw a UFO in the 70s, one that was going along the water and then took off. I've not seen anything that I'm aware of. I did videotape 7 drones in Los Angeles here off my deck at night, which was very strange because I use drones, and you only use 1 drone, maybe use 2 drones if it's a complicated thing. There were 7 drones outside, and this was a month before the Jersey drones. So I videotaped that, and you can actually see it on my TikTok account. And then right before I actually went to my first UFO convention, I saw something else and videotaped it, but it was so far away and it was moving. So, and the reason why I'm saying this is not that I've been abducted, but people who see things, I consider those people experiences as well, those people who see UFOs. So I don't feel like I can show you something that's almost, seeing the rivets and stuff. So for me, I'm not sure. However, I will say this. Yvonne Smith, who is a world-class hypnotherapist in this field, she runs a great group called Zero. She worked with me on a couple of my docs. And at one point I got so fed up and I was so burnt working in this, and years are going by, and I said to her, Yvonne, what the hell's going on? Why am I doing this? I've combed through my past. I don't have any missing time. I don't have any scoop marks. There's no strange lights. I don't know why I'm doing this. And then she laughed at me, which sometimes people do. And she said, Dean, they don't have to knock on your door to get to you, which is a little cryptic. And so maybe they are somehow getting through me, and I'm experiencing because I'm doing things with these documentaries that I've never done with any other documentaries. The way that they come together, from the animation to the music to, the questions, it really does feel like I'm kind of here to be of service for some reason.
And that's your calling.
Now it is, for now. Yeah.
The idea that, when I talked to you before the show, and we're going to get more into this in the second half hour, but the idea that you have been able to really differentiate between the different sides of ufology, whether it's the military side, whether it's the governmental side, whether it's UFO versus UAP, whether it's the experiential side, you've really taken a broad horizon of this topic. Do you have a favorite?
It's funny. I always equate this to the Beatles. When you first start listening to the Beatles, you go, oh, Paul, he's the cutest one. You're like, yeah, he's the guy. And you listen to music, beautiful ballads. And then you kind of move to John, and you're looking at John Lennon. You're going, God, this guy's great. His stuff is Dylan-esque, such, anger and depth. But then George sneaks up with his spirituality and his, the sitar and all that music. And then you end up with Ringo, who's just this sweet, lovable guy who just loved his brothers and just wanted to be, in this group. And I feel that way about whether they're from another planet, maybe another planet is Paul McCartney equivalent, or they're from another dimension, I guess John Lennon, or they're from, the future, etc. And so I think if someone were to put a gun to my head and said, look, they're either from the future, another dimension, or another planet, I'm going to go with that they're from the future. I feel pretty compared, like if those are my options. And the reason why is because they're shaped bipedal, very much like us, as masters will say. They're shaped like us. The odds that there would be another planet, like when I talked to Professor Michio Kaku, he's like, water is the biggest life sustenance out in the universe. So most likely another being might look like a lobster more than they would like us. But these guys look like us. And more importantly, according to Michael Masters and other anthropologists, this is what we are going to evolve into, a version of this in the future. So the question is, when?
That topic, and I've talked to Michael about that a number of times, it trips me out to even think about that alien grays are us from the future and how we've evolved, say, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 years from now. So we don't know where they're from. I'm still a little bit on the fence with that personally on that, but it does make sense, and when you look at the possibility that they figured out time travel and how to go backwards, how to go forwards through the different dimensions so they're not skipping any and getting back to where they need to go. That's a pretty technological advancement right there.
Well, for us, it is. We're a type 0.0.7 species. We're not even a 1. And so these species are definitely, 2 to 3. And if they're us from the future, the best argument for that, let me just say, is we are going to figure out time travel. It is inevitable. Einstein gave allowances for it. So if that is at all a possibility, then we would be coming back and visiting us. And so if that's a possibility, then why isn't it that? I mean, first of all, it could be all the above. And what we didn't talk about is the Matrix, that we're living in a simulated reality. And we actually have in the Alien Perspective, part 1, the first one that I made that came out earlier this year, that we got Dr. Nick Bostrom out of Oxford, who created the simulation reality hypothesis that we are these things that have been created by aliens, whether it's for their own amusement. But, the thing is, as we start to project ourselves out technology-wise, we start to see that all these things are becoming more tangible and less magical.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that. I mean, all you got to do is go back, 20, 30 years in the timeline, to what, even if you go back to the 70s, say 60s and 70s with Star Trek, Doctor Who, Star Wars, and all of these real popular sci-fi type movies and television shows. I mean, we could only dream of that. I mean, people were laughing just a few years ago, Dean, that George Jetson would be, 2 years old. I think now he'd be around 5 years old if he was born, because on the timeline, he was born in like 2020 or 2021 or something like that. And, thinking
great.
that we should be having flying cars by now, that we should be, there should be no streets because we're all going to use the sky for our highways and byways, but when you look at all of that, what could be, it's hard to believe that in a lot of this sense, we're already here.
Yeah, that's the problem, though, that we're already here technology-wise, because we are in no way mature enough to deal with flying cars. I mean, seriously, do you want road rage above your head? No. I mean, the only thing out of George Jetson that we get immediately that comes to mind is we get the Zoom, Zoom calls. They're constantly doing Zoom calls with each other on these, TV screens and stuff where they can, see each other and everything, dial that up. We still don't have the tricorder, though, with regards to Star Trek. But yeah, we're still animalistic. We're still evolving, but technology-wise, we're at a pretty dangerous apex. I mean, Moore's Law, which for the longest time had this, scale that was moving like this gradually. It, with the integrated circuit, microchips, it's gone, straight up. So it's weird because it's that balance of being mature enough. I was on this panel at Contact in the Desert, and I don't know if it was Richard Dolan or someone was saying that, well, the aliens have probably figured out how to have safeguards to keep them from hurting themselves with their technology. And I said, you know what? I think it's less of that, and it's more of someone who's mature enough not to stick their finger in a light socket. They know what's going to happen, so why even go there? But we still stick our finger every day in tons of light sockets.
Just for the record, before we go to break here, Dean, it is estimated that George Jetson would be 3 years old right now.
Oh, really?
He'd be 3 years old. So
that's great.
We got a lot of time before the flying cars happen. Might not happen.
Yeah. And how old is James Kirk? Didn't he? Tobias Kirk, wasn't he born a while ago?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
Yes.
Filmmaker, documentarian, Dean Aliotto. When we come back, we're going to talk about where ufology is going and film and AI next on Spaced Out Radio. Great start, my friend. Great start. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I hope you're enjoying yourself so far.
No, this has been very painful. I'm heavily medicated, and
I know.
got to do what you got to do, right?
That's usually what happens when Michael Masters' name comes up.
Yeah.
Andrew Hillier, how are you tonight? Vanessa, thank you for joining us. And Paramarv, thank you for putting all of the links to Dean's films and links in the chat room. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. I have such a great audience. I don't even have to ask them to do it. They just go and do it. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they care about our listeners, man, or our guests, man. It's really good. Attorney to the EBEs, how are you tonight? Thank you. I just redid my studio here.
That looks very cool. I'm interested in hitting the alien vodka. Is that vodka? What is that?
I did. I got that at on the way to Rachel. You know, they got the giant
Rachel, Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it at the souvenir store right before, you know, when you first turn off the highway and then you got the big steel alien standing outside of it. That's where I got it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Bigfoot plaque too.
This one here,
That one.
I actually, one of my listeners carved this for me.
No way.
And then right here is a gnome that he carved for me of me. I got to show you this. You'll love this. Hold on. This is
oh my God.
This is all a single piece of wood.
That's hardcore.
And that's me holding a microphone.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah, he carved both of those.
Perfect.
And he also carved yeah, great. He also carved a little spaceship.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Now I gotta find my alien that fell. Where'd you go, big guy?
If anyone can hear this, he just showed me a UFO on a pole, which looked more like a hat where you'd put your hat pole.
Oh, he's back there. Sorry, Dean.
No worries.
Let's change the numbers up here. That looks pretty good. Put that right there. There we go.
Nice.
Terrence Wills, how you doing, my man? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on in.
Nice. Thank you, Terrence. Appreciate the shout out, brother.
Jose, yes, I did get your UFO art. It was amazing. Thank you for sending it.
Someone had brought up in the chat, they mentioned how Hollywood is keeping or blocking disclosure. I'm happy to address that if you want to.
Let's get
throw
into
that into the mix.
Let's get into that next. That's actually a fun topic.
Mm-hmm.
Paulie, you're so right. She says, now that Dave has everything organized, you can't find nothing. I have no idea where my eyeglass cleaners are. You know those little eyeglass rags? I don't know. I had 2 of them on my desk. They're gone now. They're gone.
Here, I got one for you. Here you go. Just take
thank
this.
you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. We got about a minute here to go before we're going to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, but I know. Just reading the comments. It's my favorite part.
Oh, no worries. The one thing that I love about my audience, they will never say anything insultive.
That's because they're Canadian. They're good people.
The majority of the people in the chat room are either from the UK or the United States. Most from the United States, then the UK.
Nice.
Very few Canadians, actually.
Oh, really?
Couple, not many. And Paulie there's from Israel. So.
Wow, it is all over.
Yeah. There's a couple of Aussies in here too.
Aussies,
Right,
eh?
20 seconds. Big thank you to Kitty Caddywhack for our lone super chat of the night. Thank you for your love and support. And don't forget, you can support us that way or join our YouTube membership. I will try on Wednesday to do a special thing, video, whatever they call it. And our store is open. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking with filmmaker Dean Aliotto. You can find all of his movies on Amazon. He's all over the place. Yeah, great filmmaker indeed, especially if you're really into the UFO subject. All right, I want to remind everybody that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Filmmaker, researcher, documentarian Dean Aliotto is our guest tonight. And Dean, I want to clear up a conspiracy here because I got to admit, sometimes I have this conspiracy going through my head as well. And that is that Hollywood is part of the disclosure game. You're right there. You're in California. You're making films. You believe in this conspiracy theory?
I can talk candidly about it. We just have to go to a skiff. And then I can tell you everything. So here's the deal on that one. I have yet to have an example of a film that that was interrupted by intelligence officers. I know that Bryce Zabel said he had someone that came and kind of confirmed some of the things that he was doing with, I think it was Taken. But I've never heard of anyone coming and working in concert with them. I wish that would happen, but Spielberg had read J. Allen Hynek's book, Close Encounters, and his other books. And so he was working off of that, and he was working off of also the Kelly Hopkinsville for E.T. Story. So, in fact, the first version of E.T. was really scary. So, I don't, you look at the movie Arrival and everything. These are films that are brought together by imagination. But since the 50s, we've been doing this. When Roswell happened, 1947, that's when the flying saucer term came out. And Hollywood jumps on everything that's imaginative. So, and with regards to disclosure, being a part of it or blocking it, I swear to God, I would have to say, if you were to, again, put a gun to my head, that's twice that I've had a gun in my head on this show. I'm a little scared. I would say that, that disclosure is not in our hands, and it may not even be in the military's hands. I think it's in their hands. And the people that I talk to who have been at this a long time, researchers, much longer than I've been at this, feel the same way, that they, whatever they are in control of disclosure and how they want to be seen when they don't want to be seen. It seems entirely up to them. And, an example of that is these UAP hearings. I've kind of seen enough of them, unless they drop, I always joke, unless they drop an alien tailpipe on the hearing desk. I don't know what more we're going to get, And so I kind of feel like disclosures happen for hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more, with the experiencers. They're getting that. And so, I don't know that the government has anything really to disclose other than great footage, because they are sitting on insane footage. I'm pretty sure of that.
Do you think that'll ever come out?
Well, the excuse that they use is this is footage that we're afraid to share because maybe our adversaries can reverse engineer it. And I'm like, okay, let's take an iPhone and let's go back to the 1800s. Go ahead, give it to someone, show them how it operates, and then ask them to take it apart and put it back together or be able to duplicate it. It'll never happen. So I don't think that these crafts and everything, I don't think we're able to figure that out. So what is it that we want from disclosure is the first question we have to ask. And when the question comes up, I ask people whenever I go to conventions, I say, what do you want? And they go, well, we want technology. And I say, okay, technology, what do we want that for? And some of them will say, well, to clean up our planet and everything. And I go, yeah, I don't want that. And they think I'm an idiot, which, is probably true. But my reason for that is I say, how many of you are parents? And a chunk of them raise their hands. I go, okay, when your kid messes up their room, what do you do? Do you go in and clean it for them? No, we got to clean it up ourselves. Because if they come in and clean it up, we're just going to continue jacking it up all over again. And so I feel like the technology that I want are things that are earned. Because again, maybe I'm a romantic about this, but I feel like mankind needs to have our own journey. Right now, we're in nursery school. We're even in kindergarten. And to take someone like us and to ramp us up to grad school, that's a hellacious leap. And so I feel like we are getting trailers to an awesome movie that is going to happen when it's time for that. But seeing a UFO and all these interactions, these are like teasers and trailers to a fantastic movie. But I think that we're going to have to meet them halfway on the bridge is all I'm saying.
I look at it a little bit differently. And I remember having a conversation with Lou Elizondo about it a number of years ago. And this was coming out of COVID, where I asked him, I said, were you guys watching people during COVID? Just the way people were treating people. Never mind, COVID has nothing to do with COVID, but I focused on how people were treating people. Whether it was the hoarders of toilet paper, whether it was the person buying 12 jugs of milk, not realizing that half of those jugs will be rotten in 5 days, 6 days. Okay. Whether it was the people ratting out others for having grandpa and grandma over for Christmas, whoever it may be, we didn't treat people very well. And he told me that absolutely they were watching on how people were reacting. And they used COVID as a test to say, okay, let's flip this and see how people let's say this was UFOs, aliens. He goes, this isn't going over very well. Didn't go over very well at all. And people were getting desperate. People were getting dangerous, if you want to put it that way, or on the verge of getting dangerous with each other. Neighbor wasn't loving neighbor at times, and I look at it that I really don't believe that the majority of people, if we just focus on North America here, I don't believe that the majority of people in North America are ready for something like this, because there's very few incidents that will affect every single person on this planet, whether they live in a concrete jungle of LA or New York, or whether they live in the jungles of Africa or South America. It's going to affect everyone. And I don't know if we are, like, to use the term you used earlier, mature enough in order to figure this out or be prepared for it.
Fair enough. So do you know what France was stocking up on when COVID hit?
No.
Condoms and wine. Those are the two number one items while we were going and getting guns and bullets and toilet paper. So that to me shows that countries have priorities that are different across the board. Do you know that there's a custom with Asians, in Japan, that if you show up to work early, do you grab that first parking spot and go, oh yes, score, man, I'm so glad I got here early? No, they park as far away at the end of the lot so that the people who are racing because of kids, family, whatever, to get there, and they get there barely in time, they can have a spot up close so they don't have to run to get in. So there is, Mr. Rogers said this, look for the helpers. There are people who are out there doing really great things. I was in the San Francisco earthquake. It was terrifying. And I saw some repugnant behavior side by side with people donating what they had, having neighbors over. So it brings out the kind of worst and best of us. But until it's across the board, the best, I don't know when we're going to be there. But like when I go to UFO conventions, I see a lot of open-minded people that all share the same thing that aliens, I believe, share, which is curiosity. And so my feeling is that when we get to a place where everyone is singing the same song in the same key, then we're going to be open to some, galactic federation, which I have a whole thing that I do when I talk about what a galactic federation, why would there even be one? But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't discount. I've talked to Lou a few times as well. And that makes sense to me.
Getting back to the Hollywood side of things, I realize that there's a lot of creative people behind the camera putting these films together. And I'm not naive to that, but sometimes they just seem to get it so right. How does that happen when you watch, say, an Alien Abduction? Even going back, I'm going to use Close Encounters because everybody knows Close Encounters. But
Sure.
if you watch the way little Bobby is taken, or the beings coming out of the craft with the little grays coming first and then the bigger gray with the long dangly arms coming out after that, or the setup of everything being dead and the military cordoning off the area, for a UFO landing. I mean, I just look at this and it just seems so on point, I should say. How are they doing this? How are they creating it? Are they watching people like on this show or other shows who've gone through this? Are they bringing in experiencers to make it feel a lot more realistic, or is it just straight imagination?
All right. So let me ask you a question. Why do you think it's spot on? That it's too spot on? Why do you think it is?
Because it happened to me.
Okay. So if you or any other human are having experiences and you're writing and talking about them, do you think the chances that maybe these filmmakers are listening, or maybe some of them are experiencers as well?
Could very well.
That they're influencing each other. And so so when you say that they're getting it so perfect, but how do you know that it's perfect? If you know that it's perfect, chances are they're going to know it's perfect as well, because it's out there in the zeitgeist. And we've had all these wonderful books that have been around forever talking about this. So it's not like they're divulging something and then later on we find out, oh my God, that is true. Element 14 or whatever it is, that is true. It isn't. It seems to be right on par with what we know. And then because it's Hollywood, they take it to the next step, further. But when you look at the outtakes of, say, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you see a bunch of weird experiments that Stephen was trying that didn't work. Like he had these cubes, these light cubes that were flying all around, not orbs, but literally cubes. And they were supposed to be dancing around them and everyone's looking at it. And when you look at the footage, it's hysterical. It's horrible. And then the other thing he did is he had all the aliens flying around. So you see all the people there that are at Devil's Tower on the Mayflower Project, which is what it was called. And they're seeing these aliens, these kids on these harnesses flying around. So it's we're working out imagination, and what plays best ends up being in the final cut.
Well, I think it's absolutely amazing how some of it is just so bang spot on. It just makes my eyes explode sometimes. But I guess that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, win that over in that reality. And I know what you're saying by that, because, to use a comedy aspect here, I was still working in the newsroom in Vancouver when Anchorman came out. Legend of Ron Burgundy. And there were so many little shenanigans in that movie that were so bang on to a newsroom that you wouldn't get if you were just in general public. But if you worked in a newsroom, you would get the little nuances that were just absolutely hilarious. And so I understand with what you're saying on that, because it works sometimes,
Yeah, it's a compliment to the cast and crew and all the research. I mean, we don't just jump into a film. We do research. It's based on something we're interested in. One of my favorite examples of that is This Is Spinal Tap. I mean, band members from other bands, famous bands, would come up and go, who told you that story? How'd you guys get that? Because all those things have happened. And, our job as storytellers, which is what we are at the end of the day, is to get it as authentic and believable as possible. And we work really hard to do that. And it's the most expensive art form in the world, in history. So of course, we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get those details. And we bring in consultants. Spielberg brought in J. Allen Hynek, and Jacques Vallée was there as well, helping out. So, there's an, if you're smart, you bring in people that are smarter than you, who know that topic better. And I think Spielberg's been very good about that. And I think Denis Villeneuve with, Arrival, even though that the beans in Arrival just look ridiculous for me. At least they were trying something new. But yeah, so I think that means they've done a really good job, that it resonates.
Your favorite, outside of your own work, your favorite, most realistic movie about UFOs and aliens?
That's going to take me about 20 minutes because I only think about my favorite stuff, which is mine. And, geez. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm going to, Close Encounters. However, I really do love the fertilizer to the brain that 2001: A Space Odyssey is. Really love that. It's tough, dude, because I have 3 other films that I haven't made yet that I want to make, that are addressing things that I think we should be seeing and I want to put out there that haven't been covered yet. Even Whitley Strieber is very unhappy with Communion, the adaptation, and he's been trying to get a remake of that one for a long time. But yeah, I mean, Fire in the Sky had some great moments to it as well. Yeah. I go to Close Encounters because it services the legend or the mythology or the history of UFOs, but it also brings magic into it and, does crazy things like conflating the devil's, Bermuda Triangle and those planes in the first scene showing up. I mean, oh my God, that's just so great. Genius. Yeah. And then linking music with communication with these beings. I mean, that's the special sauce. That's the thing that makes these movies memorable, where they feel like they are indigenous to this mythology. So
I've never watched Communion because I couldn't finish the book.
Oh, really? Because it was too scary, or because you were like,
it was, I think May of 1999, May or June of 1999. And I was right into the book, and I had just become a dad in January. Ooh. And there was a part of the book where Whitley looks to his left or right while he's sitting on the bench on the craft, and his son is right beside him. And that part right there scared me so bad, because I had my daughter in my hands. Here's my 4-month-old daughter in my hands while I'm reading that. And I have never picked up the book since. It scared me that bad.
Really? Yeah. I remember when I read it, I think I read it in 87, 88, shortly after it came out. And I remember thinking, geez, this is scaring me more than any Stephen King novel. But okay, I'm going to tell you a terrifying story. So maybe it's terrifying. I don't know. I'm at a serial meeting with Yvonne Smith. And I was allowed, I'm very grateful to have been allowed not only to go to a few meetings, but also, and CERO is Close Encounter Resource Organization. And there's several different branches. And I was also invited to be able to film at them. And my new doc that's coming out, we actually have footage of one of these support group meetings. So I'm there at the same time that this 35-year-old, 6'4" or 5" major in the Army, it's his first time. And he's there, and I'm looking at him, and he's got this energy about him, like he's about to go TNT. And so it's his turn to talk. And he says, I think all of you guys are crazy that you put up with this and you've made peace with this. He says, you know, I didn't want this, and it's happened to me my whole life. And I've made peace with that. The reason why I reached out to Yvonne is that 4 months ago, I'm in bed. Now, the only person I've ever told this to, he said, told us, was his wife, that he's been abducted. He's an experiencer. And he said his kids on the weekends will run in and jump in bed and everything. And this time, his 2 daughters, they ran in, and they're young, like, 5 or 6 or something like that. And they show him pictures, and he looks at the pictures, and he says, what is this? And one of them says, oh, this is the little skeleton people that come at the night sometimes when we're sleeping. And yeah, and they looked exactly like, the Greys. And so he was furious that they were then taking his kids. And he said, almost had to be restrained. He says, they can come and get me all they want, but they don't touch my effing kids. He was furious. And he wanted me to come over and set up cameras and stuff and everything. And so, it's a generational thing. We know that. I have, in this new doc, I have someone who's been abducted, very, very, very famous case. And he admitted on camera that he was taken as a kid. So
2 minutes to go before we have to go to break, Dean. In your opinion, you've interviewed enough experiencers now. How do you know when an experiencer is telling you the truth or is seeking 15 minutes of fame?
Okay, so I have them spit into a test tube, and if it turns purple, I know that these guys are full of it. And I've caught a few. Okay, so I've worked on crime shows. That was my bread and butter for 20 years. I've interviewed criminals. I've interviewed cops. I've interviewed witnesses and stuff. So you develop a pretty good BS meter. In fact, the first time I went to an experiencer support group, I was waiting for my BS meter to go off. And in fact, my girlfriend said to me before I left, she said, just, be careful, because she's cautious with all this stuff. And so I came home and she goes, how was it? And I said, it was terrifying. And she goes, oh my God, why? And I said, because I believed all of them that I talked to. Here's the thing. You can't fake PTSD. And all these guys had that. John Mack talks specifically about that in his book, Abduction. It is not something that, that turmoil that you can fake. And there's certain things that when I would interview, criminals, and they were trying to say they were innocent and stuff, some were, but some weren't. And you could just, there were tells, and not a blip. These are people who have been through a traumatic ordeal. And so I have nothing but empathy for these people. So that's kind of my litmus test, having been, through criminology and profiling for a long time. So
it really makes
I have met people that I know were full of it, though. And none of them obviously made it to my show, but yeah.
The one thing that I've noticed about a lot of abductees and contactees is how matter of fact they are about it.
Yeah.
Like you can tell when somebody is trying to pull your leg or add an extension onto a story. But when they are just at matter of fact, this is what happened. There were the dots, there were the grays, this is what happened. I woke up the next day, it's not exaggerated. It's the people who keep going on and on and on and on. That's where I find that it gets a little tedious, shall we say. Dean, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. When we come back with filmmaker Dean Aliotto, I want to ask him about how AI is going to change the UFO world. Are we going to be able to trust more UFO videos? in the near future? We'll be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, Dean, we are clear. We got about just under 6 minutes here. So I'm just going to put you back in the green room. I'm going to take a little bit of break and I'll be right back. Okay.
Good enough.
All right. We'll be right back, everybody. right. Bring Dean back in here. There we go. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Still having fun?
I am. This is a good time. Just getting a little hot here and getting a little air. Does that sound okay still? I got the door open a little bit.
Oh, you
Good?
sound great, my friend.
All right.
Sound absolutely great. One of my sources was like, hey, man, did you hear about the drones today that were shut down the Copenhagen airport?
Oh, I have not heard that.
I didn't hear it either till he told me. Felipe, how you doing? Good to see you. Excuse me.
It rained like magic here. I like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Great descriptor.
We got about 12 seconds. Thank you to Kitty Caddywhack, our lone super chatter for the night. We greatly appreciate your love and support. Store is open on our website. Check it on out and join our YouTube membership as well. Here we go. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in. We love bringing the weird and strange to you each and every night. And we're going to get back to movie maker Dean Aliotto here in a moment. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lapidomancy. Lapidomancy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Filmmaker, documentarian, and researcher Dean Aliotto is here. We're having a great conversation with him about every type of movie, every type of instance with UFOs. Why does he believe this is an important subject? But now we're going to get into AI, because with the advancement so quickly of AI, I think we're on the precipice of not being able to tell what's a real UFO video or not anymore. We're that close. Dean, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you, Dave.
Your thoughts, AI. Are we going to be able to use UFO videos as evidence in the near future?
Yeah. I think it's been a while since we've not been able to use that footage. When I'm online, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, etc., I'm constantly barraged with footage that's fake. I have a little bit of a inside scoop on what is real and what isn't, simply because I know how the technology works. I know what artifacting looks like. I can tell right now what is computer engineered. But that's becoming harder and harder. And so as much as that concerns me, it still is a matter of like the province. So as an example, if someone says, here's some footage, and they kick it out there, or here's a picture, and they don't come forward, it's dismissed right away. I don't want to hear that, oh, well, I don't want to be a part of people doing this and that. BS. You got it out there, you put it out there. So come and have, take claim, have ownership if you're going to do that. It's kind of chicken, you know what, if you don't. Where I'm more concerned about is how AI is taking over everything, and how AI is becoming a companion and telling people, advising them, sometimes great advice and sometimes not great advice. But, there's the whole thing with like Siri, where you walk in and say, hey, Siri, turn on the lights, this and that. Well, you have AI now that you can program to sound like any voice you want. Probably not a mother-in-law, but, someone's voice. It could be Emma Stone, who knows? Or it could be a Matthew McConaughey, and, coming home and saying, talking to them, greeting them. That's kind of more of my concern, because right now people, especially the new generation, they're not connecting in the physical world, if you will, as much as they used to. And so we used to be really concerned, like when you and I were growing up, it was, oh my God, the population explosion. This is, really bad that there's so many people on the planet, billions and billions. And now it's starting to decrease. And so that's another way to kind of underscore Michael Masters' theory, which is that these beings are coming back because there's not enough gene pool in the future. And so, like we connected with the Cro-Magnons or the Neanderthals, that was enough of a mix to keep us going. And so, it's a bigger problem. That's one aspect of it. But, they've been fake UFO footage and stuff forever. It's existed forever since people were taking pictures. So I'm not terribly worried about it.
I wonder, because a lot of people, and I hate to put it this way, we're gullible beings when we believe in something.
Yeah.
And
you know why?
Go ahead.
Because two reasons. Number one is, when I look out and all the thousands of people that I've spoken to over the past 8 years on this topic, I see people that are enjoying entertainment. It is great entertainment. And the other thing is that we want to believe. We really do. And so it's part of the entertainment of it all, if you will. But there are not enough people who engage in what used to be done all the time, which is called critical thinking. It's like every time some footage shows up or something, like the Booga sphere, they've carbon dated it to 12,000 plus years ago. And I take a look and I go, oh, well, really what it is it's part of this polymorph that was in it, embedded, where you could rub that in. You can get that anywhere. You can order it on Etsy, on Etsy. And so you have to have critical thinking. You have to do Occam's razor and go, well, if this is if there's a reasonable explanation, that's got to be it. So, and again, I don't want to sound like a party pooper, but the thing is, I'm a romantic about this, first and foremost. And so I don't want to go on a date with a possible truth and then wake up in the morning and just have a little note that says, aha, got you. And that's it. That's going to be heartbreaking. And so for me, I want to make sure that a truth has been tested and I've had a relationship with this and I know all ends before I can come out and say, hey, I got a new girlfriend and here's what the truth is. So it's critical thinking, guys. It's just not taking, gurus, these UFO gurus at their word. You really have to keep testing it and kicking the tires.
Do you think it's going to have to get back to the fact that, and I'm going to contradict what's going on right now, but that we're going to start having to believe the experiencers again? Because if the hearings have taught us anything, it's the critics say, where's the proof? Show me the proof. Give us the evidence that you have. Stop telling us stories. Yet if we can't trust the evidence coming out, whether it's a grainy FLIR film from an F-18 or whether it's, something on radar that looks like just a little blip, we're not going to buy it. The people want the truth on the evidence. Did Roswell happen? Was there craft at Area 51? What about J-Rod? All of these subjects that are out there, people want the proof to it. They want something they can put in their hand. And I don't think that's ever going to happen, at least not in the near future being, in my opinion, 20 to 50 years. But on the flip side, we have all of these people who are giving some wonderful testimony about what they're experiencing, what they're seeing, how the events played out. But that isn't good enough. So how do we look to get evidence if we can't buy film anymore? We can't buy audio anymore. What is evidence? What is proof?
Okay, so let's talk about expectations. So 2017 comes up, December, and this footage is released. And the thing that's equally powerful is the testimony of the actual voices that you're hearing on the tape. Gosh, look at that. It's rotating. And then Commander Fravor, he's talking about it. And the Navy comes out and says, these are things that are not us, and it's not our adversaries, and it's not our allies. These are, UAPs. And I always laugh because people can get bent out of shape, whether it's UFOs or UAPs. And I just say, a rose by any other name is still a rose. But the thing is, you have these great, huge landmarks where the government has now come out and said, yes, there are UAPs. And we take that and we go, that's great. And then after a while, we go, okay, we want next level because we're done with that. That was entertaining. That was a shiny nickel on the ground. And now that's done. So now we're going in and, there needs to be a task force. Here's your task force that's set up. Okay, now we want evidence. We want testimony. You get that. And so we've been getting that, but no one seems to be full. This is a meal that keeps on going. People keep going back to the buffet. And so my feeling is, what is it that people want that's going to satiate them? And I have the same issue. I'm not totally, satiated as well. So I kind of feel like that the experiencers are getting that, and they do have evidence, and they also have corroboration from a spouse or loved one, or someone was there, or a child who was there, who was also taken or watched their spouse be taken. I mean, if I were to tell you right now, so what happened? Well, I was involved in a hit and run. You were? Yeah. And my girlfriend saw it. Okay. Well, where's the car that did the hit and run? Well, hit and run, it took off. So what evidence do you have? Well, she broke her leg. It's all jacked up. Yeah. But we don't know that actually happened by a car. See? So it's, we would accept that testimony, but we don't when it comes to the phenomenon.
Is it because it's not supposed to exist and there's still a bunch of people out there who are believing that this is just figment of imagination?
Well, tell that to the, tens of thousands or more people who are witnessing things, tell it to them. I mean, there's always going to be people that haven't seen the light, if you will, who are going to discount it. That's just going to happen. So sometimes it becomes a personal thing where you have to experience that. I don't want to be myself taken. I don't want to be abducted. I've never been down with that. I would like to see them, but I want to see them like the students at Ariel School saw them in the middle of the day.
I keep putting it out to the universe that one of these times when I go to break at the top of the hour, and I'll usually head outside because I have a studio in my house. And I got a big, dark backyard.
A big black bong. Is that what you're going to say?
No.
No. Okay.
You caught me off guard with that one. So, no, I have a big backyard that is very dark at night, and it is a perfect flat landing pad for the UFOs. So yes. I keep putting it out to the universe as someone who has been taken before, that I really want to have a landing there. And I think it would do the show just absolutely awesome if all of a sudden one day I don't come back from break because I've been taken. And everybody's still on the YouTube channel wondering where I went, or if I went to bed or fell asleep or whatever. I think that would be a phenomenal experience. And I keep putting it out there like, hey guys, stop this nighttime crap when I'm in bed. I'm right here. I'm willing to walk up to the ship. Okay. Just do me a favor. If I have a heart attack, just kickstart my heart, play a little Motley Crue and kickstart my heart. That's all I want.
It's really interesting you said, because again, this was a story from an experiencer at the support group. And they were talking about how he wanted to do exactly that. He knew they were coming. Most experiencers know when they're going to be having a visitation. Mm-hmm. And he stood by his window. He said, I'm not going to go back to bed. I'm going to stand here. You come and get me, and I will walk out with you. And all of a sudden, he feels himself being pulled down and being brought onto his bed. And he was furious. And they grabbed his leg and kind of lifted him up through his leg. And he felt like it was kind of this humiliation thing that was like on their terms. And he didn't have an answer for why that was the case, but it was like they needed to incapacitate him. And the easiest, I guess, answer is that, when we tag bears, we knock them out. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that needs to be done with us, because we are animal. I mean, if someone comes and is coming to me, I'm going to be swinging left and right. So you're going to have to incapacitate me. However, that being said, two things. Number one is, I think if you were to say, like, there's a lot of people that were able to go to college, and some of their funding that they got was by doing experiments where they do these medical experiments. There's a famous story of Robert Rodriguez, who made El Mariachi and a whole bunch of other films, Spy Kids, etc., where he was doing these experiments and stuff at school and was getting paid. And that's how he financed his, $7,000 first movie. I think if you were to say to a bunch of people, hey, are you willing to go on this craft and give, some samples of your body, nothing permanent, but some samples, but you get to meet them. I think there'd be a line from Starbucks here in California to Mickey D's in Delaware of people who would be willing, to do that. So why do they need to grab these people? Well, John Mack believes it's dual identity theory, which is that the beings are coming to get people that are from their planet that reincarnated. I mean, that's a pretty wild idea, wild notion, but there's some symmetry about that if you can incarnate, if you believe in that you've agreed to reincarnate and be a part of this program. Because what do the aliens say? They always say, we have a right to do this. And I'm going, what does that mean? How would you have a right to do that? So again, it's these little clues, the things that they say that keep us, going and, collecting pieces to this crazy puzzle.
For me, when I know I'm going, a couple days before, I'll be tipped off by a Pink Floyd song.
Oh, no way.
And it's from The Wall, when all of a sudden the real dark music of the keyboard starts playing, and then they go into the microphone. Is there anybody out there?
Oh, man.
And when I have that song playing in my head and I can't stop it from playing, because normally you can play any song in your head and you can stop it and then it just disappears. But if I can't stop that song, I know I'm going.
Like an earwig, you get it for that song, and that's when they come. That's the precursor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's funny. You have a gnome in the back there. One of the scripts that I have that I've been trying to get going and almost got made a couple times is about an abductee musician. And he sees them as gnomes until they reveal themselves, because it's a screen memory, right? Because a lot of people report having conversation with owls or deers or raccoons, which, doesn't make sense, but they're like, screen memories. So it's weird. It's weird, this ritual that they do where they mentally screw with you, right? Mm-hmm. I can only imagine what that's like.
What do you want to see? What does Dean Aliotto want to see?
Man, well, I would really love to see us get to the next level where we're worthy of joining a galactic federation. But as far as the phenomenon, what I want to see, I would love, again, to be able to, in broad daylight, see one of these things and have a conversation with them. It's funny, I use this analogy because people say, I could handle seeing them. And I say to them, okay, so you're on a deck, nice house, and you're sitting there on your chair, and maybe you've got, a beer going, and you look at the other end of the deck, and around the corner comes a chimpanzee. It pokes its head out for a little bit, looks at you, and then it goes back. How whacked out are you going to be? You're going to be telling people, listen, I saw this chimpanzee. It came out. I ran around the corner. It was gone. You're going to be labeled a whack job. Now imagine a creature that should not exist coming around the corner and looking at you and going back. This is heavy trauma. So I definitely want to make sure it's during the day. But more importantly for me, if you were to say, Dean, what do you want? Anything. I'm going to say, all right, I want to do a sit-down interview. I'm going to do an interview with the real Skinny Bob. I want to be able to sit down and ask them questions. And my questions are varied, but I want to know, how did they survive with technology being so violent? Is there a God? What's their version of that? What can we do to help ourselves? Do they play music? Who's their favorite band?
I'm not traveling with any alien that likes Coldplay. I'm just telling you that right now. Not doing it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And it's weird that how this plays out. Like, I can tell you an extremely weird scenario that happened in 2023 that if it didn't happen, I wouldn't believe it. We actually, 7 of us, actually got warned by a Sasquatch growl that was at our base camp, and we were away from base camp, by a Sasquatch growl that there was a UFO and an alien aliens in the trees between where we were on a trail and our base camp. And we all thought it was a bear that was at our camp. And as we're hustling down the trail to get to camp, because we had all of our camera equipment, all of our food, everything at the base, I'm kind of looking, like, if you look at it as, say, a 90-degree angle, base camp is at the top and we're like halfway down over here. But you could see as the crow flies, it's maybe 50 yards. Okay. I saw the UFO on the ground, and the 6 others that were with me could not see the UFO. Mm-hmm. And it was maybe 20 yards ahead of us. However, the other 6 all saw aliens walking through the trees. I did not.
They didn't see the craft, but they saw the beings.
They saw the beings, did not see the craft. I saw the craft and not the beings.
So you should have Greg Bishop on your show if you haven't already. So Greg loves high strangeness. And this is the high strangeness that comes with the phenomenon. And it's tough because, as an example, my 2 docs, The Alien Perspective and Life Beyond Earth, which we just dropped recently, I had 2 goals that I had to do. One is I've got to service the UFO community who's seen everything. And I have to give them perspectives on things that they've not experienced before. And then, which I do, and I do a couple mic drops, especially in the second one, Life Beyond Earth, we actually expose someone. That's all I'll say. But it's a big, huge reveal. It's kind of been a little bit of a seismic earthquake in the UFO community. But I also have to serve, and you also, when you're talking to people, have to serve the general population. My goal in doing these documentaries is to get people to be curious. I always joke, I'm going for the bike UFO curious. And so
Dean, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break in just a few seconds. We're going to get to some audience questions when we return on Spaced Out Radio with Dean Aliotto. And we're going to hopefully get in enough questions that we could make the audience happy. So if you're in our YouTube chat, do us a favor, put your questions in capital letters. We'll try and get to them, as many as possible. This is Spaced Out Radio, another 30 minutes with Dean Aliotto, and we are going to have another great time entering the second half of the show.
That's an amazing story.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. All right, I'm here. Mama Catherine, you're the best. When you say it's a great interview, I know I'm doing my job well. It just warms my heart. I love Mama Catherine. What can I say? Love her. Thank you, Jules.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the weakness. Yeah. And weaken my body more and sleep. Well, she was like, she's done everything she can and everyone's asleep. So I was like, you need the tormentor info. So get that from him. And then I sent the Nadia info this week. I was like, I said, you don't get that. And here's Nadia. And you get it. But it's about 6 a.m. there. And so all the texts already went out from Baylor to the tormentor and all of it. It was like, I have norovirus. I can't stop throwing up. I'm not going to be able to do tonight's show. I just want to let everyone know. And I can't move. And no, he didn't say that, but he's already had a really bad cold in the floor. And then was like, so he just got over the cold and then he got more up. And Ruby thinks that he got it from.
Holly Rotterman, thank you for becoming a new member of the YouTube channel. We love you, my dear. Hope you're doing well. Oh, nice. Very nice. Very nice from Polly Rotterman. 2 N's on the back. Why have 1 N when you can have 2? Fun time tonight. Fun time. I actually got Swamp Dweller tonight. Yeah, I recorded Swamp Dweller tonight. I'm pretty excited about that. Which is kind of cool. All right, we'll get Dean on there. Oh,
Hey, I was just showing off my Jaws cup.
nice.
50th anniversary.
Jaws scares the hell out of me.
It's such a great movie.
I, to this day, will not go in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Spielberg feels bad about that, but not that bad, I would imagine, since
No.
it's done well by his career. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Add
same
to the
thing.
fact that you don't see Jaws until the end. Like, talk
Yeah.
about suspense.
Yeah.
Andrew D, how you doing? Love your hat, Cosmic Joe. Yeah. My sisters, when I was 7 years old, forced me to watch Jaws on TV.
Oh,
And I, to this day, I love sharks. I do. They're an incredible creature.
yeah.
They really are. I don't want people killing sharks or whatever. But I'm a meal, Dean. I'm not an appetizer like a lot
Are you
of people.
tasty?
I'm a meal.
You're a little too tasty. Is that the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got enough hot sauce in me for flavor. Okay. I am a meal.
Yeah.
You got about 9 seconds. Thank you to Kitty Caddywhack and Polly Rotterman for becoming our latest YouTube member. We appreciate that. Here we go. Here comes the second half of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking UFOs, aliens, and we're going to get into some audience questions with our guest, Dean Aliotto, tonight. And before we bring Dean back in, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Last time we're going to introduce Dean Aliotto tonight. He's a filmmaker. You can find all of his movies on Amazon. You can find them anywhere they're streaming, really. He's amazing, and he loves the topic of UFOs. And we got him right back here. Dean, thank you for being here tonight. I hope we've done you some good tonight.
You have. You keep leaving out that I'm a very mediocre drummer. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, if you're a mediocre drummer and I'm a terrible guitar player.
Oh, we should jam.
Totally. We'll never hit a chord or a beat.
No.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. I want to get some audience questions here because they are piling up. And this goes to Polly here right off the bat. Do you think Hollywood has contributed or concealed disclosure? If so, how?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it beforehand. No, they haven't. I mean, I've been at this a long time, and I know enough people in the community who do some sci-fi work. And so, if anything, our goal is to fantasize about what that would look like. And so, Spielberg's got a new film coming out, and I don't know really anything about it other than it has aliens and it's going to be cool. And so we'll see what he's contributing to it. But I know that the director of Maverick and also of the recent F1, that he's working on a UFO project. Specifically, it sounds like about disclosure. So that'll be interesting to see, but there isn't any, grand conspiracy. Art is going to do what art's going to do because art comes in low budget, scrappy micro budget movies, and it comes in big budgets. So they can't control all of us. There's too many of us.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to our next question here. Will Steven Spielberg's upcoming movie Disclosure help bring us UFO disclosure in the real world?
Yes, the government has picked Spielberg to be the messenger of this. And you guys, when you're done watching this film, you'll probably remove your eyes. So it'll be the last thing that you see. It's going to be that amazing. I actually briefly met David Koepp, who's the screenwriter of it. He did the adaptation of Jurassic Park. And so I just think it's going to be great entertainment. I don't think it's going to be anything beyond that. I doubt that someone's pulling Stephen aside and saying, hey, put this in your movie because this is what's happening. He's going to pick what tells the best story, what storyline is the best movie that you guys want to see. So that's my opinion.
Terrence is wondering, what is your favorite movie or book that most closely expresses what you believe represents the phenomena?
God, I'm sorry. I'm going to sound like a broken record. But I think Mean Girls is close to really, no. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because of that one shot of little Barry at the door as he opens it up. And before his mom gets there and snatches him away and slams that door shut, he's looking out at something that represents curiosity. And the aliens are curious about us. I mean, that's the thing that we share in common is curiosity for life. And so for me, that film is so spiritual, more than any other alien movie I've ever seen. And at the end of the day, this is a spiritual experience.
You know, it's something I just realized here like a minute ago. My grandson, who will be 3 in November, looks almost identical to Barry.
Yeah.
And that just trips me out right now. It's freaking me out. Let's go to Mama Catherine. What are your thoughts on entities living in 5 or 6 places deep in the oceans that have been there for millennia?
God, there's so much to unpack there. How do these crafts travel at such great speeds? I think they're known as fast runners. Correct me if I'm wrong. But how do they move through the water without completely decimating any wildlife, fish, squid, etc.? Because they move pretty fast. It's been recorded or seen, observed, or heard with sonar as moving speed in knots. That is impossible, even faster than a torpedo. So I'm curious how that is. And that leads me to one of my theories that I've happened to be kicking around for a while, which is that I believe that they travel in the astral plane, because sometimes you see beings that have deceased loved ones on craft or next to craft. And so if they figured out how to do that, then you can go through matter, no problem, because it always seems like they phase in and out, right? The crafts. And so did I even answer that question? Let's see. Well, okay. So what are they? Are we saying that they've got underground bases in the water? Yeah, we don't know where those are yet. There's a lot of oceanographers, more than there's the military out there. People are constantly scouring, but there's more, there's more that we know about in space than we do about the actual ocean. So yeah, I'm going to have to do a pass on that one. I'm not sure.
Let's move on. Let's go to this question here from Super. Do you think the president or President Eisenhower met with aliens and made an agreement with them?
Oh, of course they did. This is just a fact. Kind of embarrassed that you would even ask that. Super crazy movie geek. No. So here's the thing. What comes with this great legend? It comes with the caveat that we met with the aliens, and the aliens said, look, we're going to need it to do this thing. You're going to call it abductions. We call it just hanging out and doing a medical checkup. And Eisenhower says, okay, so what are you going to give me in return? And Eisenhower, specifically says, is there something else that you can do? And the alien said, all right, what do you want? And Eisenhower was like, yeah, we'd like technology. Can you shoot us some technology? How about, fiber optics, Velcro, Post-it notes, which would have been very advanced back then. Let's talk about fiber optics for a second. So to look at that myth, fiber optics was not created, we know this, by a human. It wasn't. It was created by 3 humans. And so to say that it was created by an alien being, NHI, really kind of shortchanges the accomplishments of mankind. So I don't believe that. The other thing is that the aliens have 2 messages that they always say. And that is, you're screwing up your planet. Yes, we are. Got it. Guilty on that charge. The other is, your technology isn't helping you. Well, a lot of the UFO, beliefs, mythologies are that we got the technology from them. That is so advanced that it's jacking us up. The integrated circuits, some weapons and stuff. So why would they say your technology isn't helping? It's like, no, you gave us that technology. Shame on you. Don't go preaching to us. If you gave us a gun, we're going to use it. There's that saying, if you show a gun in the first act, you have to use it in the third act. So now I don't, there's not enough evidence to support that, whether it happened or not.
See, and in my world of disclosure, I think, and it's funny because I've been using this term for years, and then about a year and a half ago, Chris Mellon used it in one of his speeches. Now, I'm not saying that he got it from me, but I think, it just makes sense. I think somewhere in the Pentagon, there is this massive Pandora's box of UFO stories, rumors, and everything that we have heard over the years and decades since Roswell that has all of this in place. Whether or not Eisenhower met with aliens, whether or not Bob Lazar worked at Area 51, whether or not Roswell was one crash or two, like many believe. All of these secrets from around. And I think, Dean, that's to me what disclosure is. Open it up. Open up that Pandora's box, because if the Eisenhower story is just a rumor, like, I'm one of these people, I want it to be true so bad. I do. But if it is just a rumor, now we can quash it, because there's no need for it if it's not true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So who's patient zero who divulged this? What's the province of this? I want to know who came up with this. Because otherwise it's, there's a million different rumors that are about different things, cover-ups and stuff like that. It's, again, you need to find out who stated this. And so until we know who stated it or have that evidence, I mean, one of the craziest stories that I really dig is the one about Jackie Gleason from the Honeymooners series, 1950s comedy sitcom. He supposedly was playing golf with Richard Nixon. You've heard this one?
Yes.
Yeah, playing golf with Richard Nixon, and Nixon says, "Hey, I hear you're into." Actually, he would be like, "So I hear you're into aliens." So he goes. Jack Gleason says, "Yeah, I'm really into it. I have a home that's shaped like a UFO." So supposedly he took him to Wright-Patterson and showed him the aliens, and then his wife wakes up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. There's Jackie getting totally hammered with a drink, and he says, "Son of a bitch, they're real. They are real." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" "They're real. I saw them." And that was it. And then she later on at Look magazine came out and mentioned it. And that's how that story got out. He ended up divorcing her. But yeah, that's a great story. But then that opens up the other story, the other aspect, which is what presidents would have been read into this program, because the president's only there for 4 to 8 years. So why do they need to be read into this at all?
I agree with you. And once again, I want that Jackie Gleason story to be true. I actually interviewed an author about that who wrote a book on that situation. And he was after doing the research, he was 100% convinced that it happened.
Yeah.
It's absolutely an incredible story. Let's move on. Let's go. Cosmic Joe is asking, what's your favorite cryptid creature?
What are my choices? So many.
You want to dabble in some Bigfoot, some Dogman, Wendigos, Skinwalkers, gnomes, little people?
Let's see. We got Wookiee. Is Wookiee? No, Wookiee, I guess, wouldn't be one of those. Yeah, I would say, I love the idea of Bigfoot. I really do. I've not spent nearly enough time in that space, but I just love the idea of this guy who's, out there, maybe eating granola, knows how to put out his fire so it doesn't, spread. He's living off the land, man. That's pretty cool. Off the grid. I think it would be Bigfoot. I would say Sasquatch.
Come to my area.
Yeah. I have to have my own experience there.
It'll happen. It'll happen there. Come to my area. Fly north. All right. Let's go back to Terrence here. What 2 questions would you ask the gatekeepers to bring out the truth?
Who's it going to harm? Just tell us. Tell us what you know. I think that the experiencers know more than the government knows. They have to. I don't think the government knows that much. So the 2 questions I would ask the gatekeepers to bring out the truth. It would be, have faith in mankind, have faith. I don't think it's Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. I would say, could you have faith with us? Is there a chance that you could have faith that mankind can handle it and see what happens? Because mankind is very malleable, very adaptable. And after, a few months and stuff, people are going to go back to work. They're going to go back to, paying bills and everything. And it's, not going to be that cataclysmic, but just kind of confirm some things are going on. That's what I would ask them.
That's a good question. Jules is asking, do you think there is a market for historically accurate phenomena accounts in today's market?
They keep making movies like I do. And I'm working my ass off to make them very accurate. In fact, the reason why I chose animation for my recreations is I don't want to find an actor to play, Sergeant Jim Peniston, way back in the day and try to find someone that looks like him, but can also, act as a good actor. I'd rather take drawings of these people or do drawings of what these people look like at the time. And so I'm very accurate when I do my recreations. So there's a lot of people out here, a lot of us out here, filmmakers who are trying to keep it accurate. That's the way that I do it. And put you in situations that you don't see, that you couldn't do budgetarily wise in other films. So I do think that there's a market for it, more than the industry knows. There's a huge market for the phenomenon. It's like, wake up, just look at James Fox's stuff. He crushes it.
I think one of the issues that I have with that, and I think a lot of our audience does too, so I don't want to speak for them, I'll put it in sense of mine, is when you look at the movie Fire in the Sky. Mm-hmm. We're approaching the 50th anniversary of that, and one complaint all of the eyewitnesses have had about that movie is that it was inaccurate. There were 7 people in the truck, not 6. There were like 6 in the movie. What happened to Travis? And I realized that they have to make it look good for film. I get that. But when you hear the real accounts from these guys, it was so different than what the movie made it out to be. And I realized, look, you got to, the film is based on a true story, but isn't there a happy medium? Like I was talking to Karen Smurl the other day. I don't know if you know who she is, but her family had a very bad paranormal experience that was investigated by the Warrens back in the 70s, early 80s. Mm-hmm. And the next Conjuring movie that is coming out is about her family. And they totally, in my short conversation with her, the family's upset about it because they did everything that they didn't want them to do.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Warrens myself. There's a documentary that's out there about how they handled a couple cases and the misconduct that Mr. Warren engaged in was really not cool. The reason why Fire in the Sky, that was a decision that was made by the filmmakers. Maybe Paramount had a hand in that as well. But none of what happens on the craft, once he's inside it, happened to him. Zero. A buddy of mine actually did the puppets that they used to create great effects and everything, but it became a whole other movie. He didn't have anything like that. He thought there were doctors at first. And where's the Nordic? There was no Nordic. And he specifically saw that Nordic, that human, looking NHI. So, but you're going to get inaccuracies whenever you do that, unless you're doing a documentary. And even then people take license. I try not to ever, because I think truth is much more frightening, and interesting, than any fabrication.
Let's go to another question from UFO Proof here. Have you ever felt your own work was weaponized, used to dilute real testimony or reinforce institutional denial?
Good question. I guess I'm the only filmmaker who has gone on national TV to debunk his own work. I did that because I have too much respect for the genre. I made these movies to be the most realistic portrayal ever. That was my goal at the time. And so I did everything painstakingly to make it feel like it was real. And so if the government wanted to weaponize it and have it diluted, I mean, here's the theories that went online. Okay. It was that I work for the government. There used to be a mayor, Aliotto, of San Francisco. He was like 50 years older than me or something. And I never met the guy. We share the last name. Maybe we're from the same place in Italy. But the belief was that I was hired by him being my father, which biologically doesn't make sense, and to make the remake to throw people off the authenticity of the first one. Well, the problem with that is that I have pictures and videotape of the location with the little girls dressed up as the aliens and everything else. There's too much stuff. So I think I never gave it a chance to get to that point that it could have been co-opted. So, no.
We got a couple minutes left here. Let's go to Terrence, who is asking, do you think there's something about our human history being hidden from us that relates to what is happening right now?
And you left out the statement, "You guys rock." Thank you very much, Terrence Wills.
We rock.
Yes. Okay, so let me try to burn this one out quickly. Something about human history. Okay, so there's the Anunnaki theory, which Sitchin himself has admitted that he conflated a whole bunch of stories to create this whole myth that we were seeded by the aliens. Here's the problem that I have with that. If they seeded us and created us, we are so imperfect and so animalistic, and we have so many issues, trait-wise and character-wise. Why haven't they done upgrades? Why haven't they done adjustments? We can breed certain traits out of dogs and breed in certain traits. So why wouldn't they do that? Especially if they want to be able to have disclosure with us. So I'm gonna say no. I think this is, its own divine plan, if you will. And we came from the muck like everyone else. As much as I want to believe, the Anunnaki story, that's pretty cool. But no.
Final question. We'll sneak one more in here. Where the heck is Age of Disclosure documentary?
Yeah, isn't that the big question? What I know is that the filmmaker, and I heard this from Jay Stratton, that the filmmaker is working on getting a theatrical release. I think that it would have been better to release it directly after, whether it was streaming or whatever. But I would have, because I got some really good press, and they went South by Southwest, which is a really cool festival like Sundance. There was a hot moment because we've already had a hearing. I don't know that the information is as relevant as it would have been, way back when in April. So I'm not sure, guys, when we're going to see that one, but I'm looking out for it.
Let's sneak one more in from Art here. When a fictional narrative resonates more deeply than the official testimony, what does that say about the architecture of belief and who controls it?
When fiction is better than truth, print fiction. Who said that? There's someone very famous who said that. When fact or myth, print the legend. When the legend is bigger than the truth, print the legend. It depends what we're talking about. When a fictional narrative resonates, well, we're all stabbing, we're all throwing darts at the dartboard, guys. Whenever I make a movie with aliens, I'm guessing, based on the evidence, the few pieces of the puzzle, I'm guessing that this is how they fit together. And sometimes filmmakers, and I've been guilty of this beforehand, jam those pieces together. They don't naturally fit. So who's to say down the road that fictional narrative might not turn out to be true?
Dean, I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. It was amazing. You were great, and I hope you do it again with us sometime.
Thank you, Dave. I enjoyed it, and great questions. Your fans rock.
Thank you. Dean Aliotto, everybody, get his movies on Amazon. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller and the UFO Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you so much. This was amazing tonight.
This was fun. These are great questions. I'm shocked, and your questions were terrific, and the whole flow and everything. This is really fun. Seriously, I enjoyed it, and I may have to take you up next time I'm in Canada about Bigfoot.
I'd love to take you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to take you, because every week we go there, it's something different.
Yeah. I do think that you should have Greg Bishop if you haven't had him on your show.
Yeah. I haven't had him on in a long time, like years.
Oh, so you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the new doc Life Beyond Earth, but he's also in the Experiencers as well.
Right.
And really is dropping down some really cool new stuff. Big fan of his, because he doesn't shy away from the weird.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
if there's anything you ever need from us at Spaced Out Radio, let us know. And we'd love to have you back on again.
Thank you, Dave. You have a good one. Be safe.
Take care. Dean Aliotto, everybody. What a great guy. Great guy. Fantastic hair, too. Great hair on him. All right, we're going to get going, and I'll be right back, everybody. All right, we are back. Got about a minute to go. Let's bring in the wizard right there.
The wonderful wizard of ufology, I guess. I don't know.
I decided when I was cutting up your new audio the other day that if we put a wizard's hat on you, you'd be pretty amazing. So you're the
I think
UFO
I would be
wizard.
a good wizard. Yeah,
You're the UFO wizard now. Lex Diaz, how you doing?
works for me.
Yeah, it's meant with all love, my friend.
I'll take it. I mean, I got a staff. It's behind the other shoulder. I got a staff back here, so I'm already halfway there. So,
All right. Thank you to Alaska's greatest athlete and Kitty for the super chats tonight. We really appreciate your love and support. Here comes hour 3. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Lampadamancy. Lampadamancy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hey Swamp Dweller, thanks for checking out my story. I'll start this by saying that I have spent my entire life living in and around America's deep forest, deserts, and mountainous regions across several states. So I've seen my share of weird experiences, from strange sounds in the woods and lights in the desert. But this one's a bit different, and I can't seem to rationalize it. This isn't an overly scary story, but the circumstances are perplexing. Freaky glitch in the matrix, if you will. This started about 3 years ago, I do believe. My partner and I were on a road trip traveling back from a week in Colorado. We were somewhere in western Nebraska and needed to stop for gas. It was somewhere in the middle of the afternoon and a sunny, clear day on the road. We pulled off at an exit advertised for a gas station and had to drive about a quarter mile down to a connecting road, where we then found our stop. It was a tiny, family-owned looking shop with 2 dated-looking pumps outside. I filled up while my partner was sitting in the car, and after I hung up the pump, I went inside to go pay and get snacks for the road. Now this is where things get weird. This gas station had no drink coolers inside, only racks of warm bottled water, chips, and various snacks. Only these snacks were all brands only sold in Ireland, Scotland, and England. There were no Lay's, Snickers, and beef jerky you would regularly see at a rural gas station in the heartland of America. This was kind of weird, but I guess it was maybe the gimmick of the gas station that maybe they just had imported snacks. I left it at that and tried to move on with a standard drive back home. But of course, that's not the end of this story. Later that year, I drove to Colorado with my dad for spring break. I usually go to Colorado once or twice a year, and I am very familiar with the journey. I know where everything is along the road, and take the same highway through Nebraska every single time to get there. On the way there, I told my dad about the story of my partner and my gas station experience. And as we got closer to where I needed to stop was, I found that there was no exit. No sign of a gas station where we stopped, nothing. The same thing happened on the route back a week later. There was nothing there. 4 different trips later, no sign of an exit, absolutely nothing. I've looked on Google Maps, along I-80, looking for all the exits anywhere near it, and I just can't find anything. It was a memorable stop because it looked like a small gray house rather than a big truck stop like every other stop on I-80. Where were we? And what gas did I put in my car? I don't know. All I know is that the snacks that were supposedly there were delicious, and I'm pretty sad that that stop doesn't live in real life, because, honestly, the snacks were great. Thanks for reading Swamp Dweller. I know the story's not necessarily the most creepy, but it definitely was a head-scratcher.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and there are thousands of stories for you to choose from. Time for the UFO Report.
Space Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just ready to go.
Josh Rutledge, we call him the wizard around here, the UFO wizard with the UFO Report. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. You know what? I got my mic over here. Fantastic.
Yeah, we may need your microphone.
Yep. Doing great. A lot of interesting stuff happening over the last few days. We got trolled by somebody on the National Archives, so that's all that.
We'll get into it. We got more pressing news right now for you to think of here. And that is, how did you like your new theme song?
Yeah, definitely like 80s hotel lounge vibes. It was fantastic.
You know, the beauty of AI is creating music now, where you just type in the lyrics, put the type of music that you want. I will tell you, I had so much fun building that on Saturday night. It was great.
I wrote a Mothman like song about the Mothman encounter, and I had AI put music and sing it, and it was pretty fun. I put that out a couple years ago. So, yeah.
If you listen closely, she'll even sing that you are the UFO wizard in there.
You already added it in, huh?
I did. I totally did. The other big question that's happening in our chat room right now is matching socks when you're doing the laundry.
Yeah. Well, I was pointed out that I wore the same shirt when I was on with Rob last night. And I said it was laundry day. And talk about missing time, the time you'll never get back, matching socks. Somebody recommended I just buy all the same socks, which I totally would if it was just me, but I've a wife and 2 daughters, and plain socks are just so boring to them. So, yeah.
Oh, me too. I'm always wearing, and you know what's funny? I have one pair of Sasquatch socks. Like I got about 5 pairs of Sasquatch socks, but this one pair, I will lose one of the socks for months. And then all of a sudden it turns up. I'll wear the pair, and then one sock from that pair will go missing again. And
maybe
I found the pair the other day.
Maybe your socks are phasing in and out of interdimensional space, Dave.
I totally believe that. Totally believe that.
Is there a smell of sulfur when it occurs? I mean, that could just be your feet, but I don't know.
No. I make sure I clean my feet daily.
I mean, I've got some pretty interesting socks that my wife and kids have gotten me over the years. Some Bigfoot socks and UFO and a lot of Star Wars and Star Trek socks. My favorite by far, though, I have a pair of Spock socks that actually have ears that stick out the side of the socks.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So, and it's logic. It's only logical that I wear them.
My favorite pair of socks are from Kira. She's part of our team. She's usually in our chat room. and her and Merle were antiquing one day in Reno when we had our fan party in Reno a couple of years ago. And she actually found a pair of socks somewhere at this store that had actually said spaced out on them. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. That's just too awesome. So that's my favorite pair. Enough about socks, though.
Yeah.
Let's get to some UFOs, because you say there's a lot going on right now. Never mind the drones over Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I was
Take
actually
us through.
gonna
What do you
lead
got
off
for
with
us?
that tonight. Yeah. Yeah, so you're right. There's drones over Copenhagen. It's interesting. I don't know if this is a trolling statement, although they tagged the legitimate newspaper and even supposedly got off the phone with Russ Coulthart talking about it. But supposedly, this is all from X, so take it with a grain of salt. But supposedly one of the drones was downed in Copenhagen, and occupants not of our Earth were recovered. They're saying three grays and a mantid being. This all comes from a gentleman named Charlie Parrish. And again, he tags Liberation Times as being the source of the information, and he tags Russ Coulthart as saying he just got off the phone with Russ and confirmed it. But I understand that it's X, and sometimes people are overzealous in who they tag to try to get attention. So
I
don't
had
know.
one source of mine today talk to me about it, and he believes that these are either Russian or Chinese, likely Russian, and it's all because of the lead up to the meetings at the UN that are coming up.
I've seen pictures and videos that people have recorded of the drones flying over the airport. They look interesting. They don't meet any of the FAA requirements for drones that are that size. But I mean, I don't know that the FAA requirements apply outside of the U.S. anyway. So, but I mean, obviously that wouldn't stop anybody from also just flying a personal drone, although the repercussions of doing so would be significant. The videos though that I've seen, it's a bright green light and a single flashing red light. And that's really the only lights that are on these objects. And when like I downloaded the video a little earlier tonight and tried to zoom in, and when you zoom in, all you really get is light. There's no apparent structure or anything to whatever the drone is that's behind the light. So I mean, it's very interesting, and given the fact that we did have the drone occurrences in New Jersey last year that was never really, in my opinion, adequately solved or explained. We know that we had the Russian incursion into Poland a couple weeks ago. So I mean, it's logical that it could be, like you say, Russian or Chinese. But we also had anonymous stuff last year, so maybe it's not.
Well, one of the other things that I heard from my source is all of a sudden there has been a major uptick in Canada around Canadian airports, especially the airport in Vancouver, which is called YVR. Okay. And there have been multiple drone-like objects plus orbs being seen coming in. And apparently they're not showing any sort of signature that a drone made by humans would create. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, in just state the obvious here, but Vancouver is a coastal city, and when they were coming in from New Jersey, they were coming from the ocean side, and coming making landfall effectively, flying around whatever they're doing over on the land, and then returning to the ocean. So it would be interesting to know if the folks that are seeing things, if they're also seeing them return. If they're coming on the ocean side and if they're seeing them return back to the ocean.
Well, the Cascade Mountains which border Vancouver. And it's kind of weird because I live kind of in between the Cascade Mountains and the Rocky Mountains, kind of in the middle there. And the Cascade Mountains have a huge, huge sighting of UFOs along that mountainous corridor. And the other interesting part about that is, next to Yosemite, the Cascade Mountains of British Columbia are number 2, according to David Politis, for people who just vanish and go missing.
Yeah. I think that, just generally, a lot of very remote, kind of natural or nature attractions have the possibility of people, just disappearing. But, I think David Politis says a lot of the cases that he's brought forward really are more so like, it's not a matter of, he went out camping and he went by himself and we never saw him again. It's a matter of like, there were people standing just feet from each other and they turn around and the person's gone and no sign that, anything grabbed him, like all their stuff is still there, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a very interesting piece. And obviously there's a lot of energetic, kind of history, let's say, with the Northwest, extending all the way from Mount Shasta up through Oregon, Washington, up into Canada, the whole kit and caboodle. So, it's very plausible that, you all may even have some sort of a portal there, that stuff is coming in and out of. Think about the case that, that coined the term flying saucer. That was over Mount Rainier.
Over Mount Rainier, yeah.
Yep. And Washington. So that's not too far from you guys. So it's very possible that whole area is somehow, energetically charged and it attracts the phenomena.
I think you could be onto something there. It is a pretty creepy thing if you think about it, because this volcanic corridor on the West Coast that starts off in California and goes straight up to Alaska. Like my area where I live, 1 million years ago, these were large, vast lakes of lava and rivers of lava that were going through this area. And when I'm out in the forest, which is usually weekly, I often see these giant, 2, 3, 4 ton lava rocks every now and again. And you see them and you're like, man, what stories do you have to tell? You've been sitting there for 1 million years.
Yeah. There, also, I think that I'm not a huge rock expert or by any means. I'm not even really, I would say, an amateur rock guy, but I think there's a lot of granite in the Northwest, like a lot of quarries and stuff are granite, and granite obviously is high in quartz, and quartz is often associated with, kind of energy and portals, and we've got the vortexes here in Arizona and Sedona, and that's one of the reasons why. It's because there's so much quartz in the ground. So it would be interesting to form that as a hypothesis and investigate and see if a lot of the sightings across the board, whether it be UFO, Bigfoot, whatever the case could be, ghosts, even poltergeist, if they follow that kind of volcanic range up from California to Alaska.
We have 4.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. It's a UFO report with the wizard. We call him Josh Rutledge around here. What else you got for us, Josh?
Yep. So this is a little old. It's about 10 days old or so. But the night of the UAP hearing, what was it? Like I said, about 10 days, 11 days ago. Apparently, Chris Bledsoe did a CE5 type event in Washington, D.C. And several people in his party observed orbs flying around in Washington, D.C. the evening of the hearing. So I thought that was really interesting. That the interviews that I watched today were, basically they said that he came out and did a little prayer, which if you interpret that meditation in the non religious aspect of a CE5, and then they all just kind of set their intentions to be able to see stuff, and then stuff started showing up. I watched a couple of videos of supposed captures, and I would have initially said satellites, but some of them actually track across the sky and then they stop and they turn and they go back the other way. Satellites don't do that. So, yeah.
What's your thought on the whole aspect of the summoning that, say, somebody like Chris Bledsoe does?
I mean, I think it's interesting because the phenomena obviously wants to interact with us. Even if we don't ask it to do so, it wants to interact with us. There's almost like a symbiotic relationship between humans and the phenomena. So I think the summoning, though, just takes it one step further. Instead of saying it's by chance that you had an encounter with the phenomena, now you can actually ask for contact. And I think it's really interesting, too, that there's an element of fear suppression that comes along with interacting with the phenomena in this way. Because I have, in my early stages of doing CE5 type things, I've got, I heard a noise or I smelled an interesting smell that caused me to kind of have a fear reaction, and the contact immediately ceased. So there's a fear suppression element there. And I think because of that fear suppression element, it requires you to be consciously aware of the emotions that your body responds to in a flight or flight situation, and being able to control those emotions and those responses so that you can A, be in the right mindset to initiate contact, and B, be able to actually experience contact when it occurs. I think it's just another way to like almost symbolically tell the phenomena, hey, I'm ready for more advanced contact than just lights in the sky or orbs in my house.
I agree with you on that. Why do you think then, with a minute to go here, so many people seem to detest the idea of summoning or the work that somebody like Chris Bledsoe does?
I think it's because it's at the end of the day, it's an unproven activity. And what's really interesting too is that people who are skeptics, now I'm going to make a distinction between skeptic and cynic, but people who are skeptical can still have experiences, but people who are cynical will never have an experience, because in their mind, an experience is not possible to happen. They've already set the condition when they took the stage that an experience, a contact will not happen. This is all bunk. I don't even know why I'm here, etc. But skeptics who just want to understand, who really want to think about what it means, how it impacts consciousness themselves, what it means for humanity. And I think we're all really seeking that answer of what does all of this really mean? Is this a level up activity? Is rapture happening tomorrow? Whatever the case may be, we're all trying to seek that answer.
The UFO wizard Josh Rutledge continues with the report on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Cool.
Paramarv, you were on a roll tonight, buddy. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for posting the information. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. You got to change the name to the Wizard now, though. You do.
For Mystic Journeys, I got to change it to the UFO Wizard.
Yeah. I'm just gonna. Yeah, it works for me.
Well, the name of my LLC is Mystic Journeys. That's why I use it everywhere. So, because UFOs are only part of what I'm about. So,
well, let's see what I can make here quickly. Thanks to Chat GPT. Oh, let's see here. See what we can do. Photobomb. All right. All right. There we go. Got that there. And then we'll go here. Create picture.
did you just illegally take my picture and you're putting it in AI?
I totally did. Totally did. 100%.
Hey, as long as I don't get letters in the mail thanking me for opening my new credit card addressed to the UFO Wizard, I think we'll be okay.
That's all good. See what we can do here. We're going to add the photo. Where's Josh? There he is. All right. Let's see what happens here. We got 3 minutes.
I'm on pins and needles. I'm waiting.
I'm very curious to see what turns out here. It's building.
What app are you using?
I'm using Chat GPT.
Okay.
See what happens here. It's funny. I was so against Chat GPT, man, and now I'm just so addicted to it.
Yeah. I was never against it. I see it as just another tool to be used. Just like when the personal computer came on the scene and the typewriter before that. I mean, all the way back to the cotton gin, if you go that far. I mean, it's just another tool to be used. And people who are afraid of it or who think it's, going to end civilization, they're missing an opportunity to harness that power.
Well, we're going to see what happens here. I don't know if it's going to get done in time, but because it's slowly loading right now. Hopefully it's going to be good. Oh, maybe we might get it. We might get it. Got a minute. I think it's going to be good. So far, so good. Oh, this is beautiful. Hold on a second here. This is absolutely beautiful. Let's go like this. Look at that. The UFO Wizard right there. Thank you to Alaska's greatest athlete and Kitty Caddywhack for the super chat. We greatly appreciate the love. Here we go at the next half hour. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We got the UFO report continuing with Josh Rutledge, the UFO wizard, right after this. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. In the UFO world, they call him the Wizard. Josh Rutledge is here, hanging on out with us on the UFO report. Josh, thank you so much for being here. You know, the beauty of AI, our radio audience can't see this, but I quickly whipped up a picture of you wearing a wizard's hat with UFOs flying all over. What do you think of that picture? That's pretty awesome.
I mean, it looks nothing like me, Dave. I mean, it looks nothing like me. The AI totally off its rocker on that one. No, I think it looks
identical to you.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, obviously it's not me, right? But yeah, it got really close. I don't know why I look like my forehead is my eyebrows are furrowed. I'm angry or I'm intense. I don't know. Would that be considered UFO smolder?
I would say that it's wizardry at its best, calling in the UFOs.
And there's like probably 30 there. All of the sports model that Bob Lazar talked about.
Right? That's you summoning them in. What else you got for us on the UFO report, man?
Yeah, so a couple things. Real quick, I want to go back and talk about, I know it's been in the news a lot. Probably everybody's tired of hearing about it. But the UAP video of the Hellfire missile hitting the object. I just was curious. I looked it up to see the specs of a Hellfire missile. So it's 64 inches long. The circumference or the diameter of the tube of the missile is 7 inches, and it weighs about 100 pounds. So I threw that into a calculator that will determine the kinetic energy of it moving at its speed, which is 450 meters per second. And it has 4.6 million joules of kinetic energy when it impacted that UAP. For comparison, this is close to a NASCAR Sprint Cup race car traveling at approximately 170 miles per hour, colliding just boom right into a UAP. I mean, I know, no one wants to think about the crashes and, the danger that those drivers face, but you've seen some pretty gnarly crashes of NASCAR cars that aren't really direct impact into whatever. They veer off the track or whatever the case may be. This would have been that same amount of kinetic energy hitting this thing, yet it just kind of, let some pieces of it go and kept on going. I was telling Rob last night on the show, or I think it was last night. Yes. That I think there's more for us to learn about this UAP video than just looking at it, the fact that it deflected a Hellfire missile. I think there's more information for us to obtain about the video if we look at the fact that, that Hellfire missile requires laser lock on. So whatever it was could be locked on with a laser. The Hellfire missile didn't break up and it didn't explode, which means that all that kinetic energy, not only did it not cause the object to break up more than the three pieces that came off of it, but it also didn't, transfer that kinetic energy into the Hellfire missile, causing it to break up. So, I mean, I think that there's just a lot of information there in that video to be unpacked beyond just, they shot a missile. Now, there's obviously the big question of why do they feel like they needed to shoot a missile at this thing in the first place? But, bottom line, I think there's a lot more information there to unpack. So that's one thing. If you got any comments on that or not.
Well, I do have a couple of comments on it because I'm not sure what this really is. Now, I talked to a couple of my military friends that have way more knowledge than I do on this subject. All right. And the one thing that they said was that, the parts that come flying off of this, it is something that is very strange. They still believe that it is a balloon. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I talked to two different people with military background.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that the one person said too was that in a hostile environment like the Middle East, and even though we're not at war with Yemen, it's still a country that wants to act tough every now and again.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens is because in the United States, one branch does not talk to the other branch.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have the CIA conducting operations there, and this is all hypothetical right now. You could have the CIA doing operations in that area, but they haven't told the U.S. Navy or the Army or the Marine Corps that they are actually sending in one of their craft or balloons or whatever into that zone. So when, let's say, in this case, let's say it was a balloon, okay, I don't know what it was, but the people that I talked to say it was a balloon, so I'm just going to use that for reference here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If that is a CIA balloon that is being carried by the wind of what is that, the Mediterranean Sea or something along that? No, not Mediterranean. What?
Yeah, you're going to make me look at a map now. Hold on.
Yeah, that's going to bug me now. Okay, but the water area, I believe it's a Gulf or something like that. Okay, Persian Gulf or whatever it may be. Not the Mediterranean. That's north. What are you thinking, Dave? Come on.
Gulf of Aden.
Okay.
Aden.
So let's say that the winds from the Gulf are pushing that balloon to travel at a good speed. Now, the one thing that this person told me is it's kill or be killed. And even though that may have been American technology, hypothetically, they're still going to take it down because they haven't been told what it is. Right?
Right.
There's going to try and take it down because just in case, it's better to take that down as American technology than it would be, let's say, if it was from an adversary, which they didn't know at the time, to try and take that could take out many people and do much more damage. So I know I didn't explain that very well because I'm not very tactical when it comes to military talk. Okay, but that's kind of the way it was explained to me.
I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. I guess there are also some military holes in that thinking though. Like, what did those folks happen to say why they would have used a Hellfire missile instead of a different type of missile? Hellfires are air to ground, not air to air. It's a much, Hellfires are a much more expensive missile to replace versus some of the other things that might have been on the payload. Just curious if they had any comments to say about that.
Well, they didn't. I mean, but at the cost of war, the Hellfire missile, which costs roughly for your American taxpayers, the Hellfire missile costs between $68,000 and $115,000 fire. That's, I mean, to you and I, that's an exorbitant amount of money. To the military, that's like you and I picking up a $5 bill.
Yeah.
Right. So Is it an expensive test? Yeah. I mean, considering the thing didn't detonate on it, and that's the big one that's got a lot of the people wondering if it is a balloon, is because a balloon with its structure wouldn't have enough metal on it or heat signature on it for the hellfire to actually explode on it.
Yeah, or it's like some people have pointed out, it's one of those like the one that shoots out the blades as opposed to exploding. Like there's that version of the hellfire where it like shoots out, you know, a bunch of knives or whatever. And so if it was that, then you know it may not have exploded at all.
Very true.
And then they also have dummy ones that they use during training exercises that don't explode. I don't know. I just I guess the takeaway for me is there's a lot of information we don't know. And because we don't know it, it's really hard to come down solid as balloon or UAP.
Yeah.
The same evidence we would need to support a UAP case is missing to support the balloon case.
I agree with you. I agree. What else you got for us, Chief?
All right. The Boogosphere is back in the internet headlines. Dr. Stephen Greer put out what's it called on X now? It's not a tweet anymore. It's just called an X.
I think it's still called a tweet, to be
Is
honest.
it still a tweet? Okay. So anyways, he put out a tweet saying that the Boogosphere was tested at, or rather that they found resin inside the Boogosphere, and they had that resin carbon dated at a lab in Georgia. That's Georgia in the United States, not the country. And it dated to 12,650 years old. And he linked to the report that you can download and read for yourself. I'm just curious, you know, I know a lot of people gave the Boogosphere, you know, like a lot of credibility issues because of, you know, maybe who was involved and the investigation of it. And I admit, like on you know, the etchings and things that are on the top of it do look crude in some places. But, you know, if something is potentially, you know, almost 13,000 years old and it's been flying around in the sky for that long, is it possible that, you know, its etchings would look crude? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Dave?
I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction here, my man.
Okay.
And that is, in my opinion, because that's what we're discussing here, my opinion, Dr. Stephen Greer has cried wolf so many times over the years that I'm at the point with him. I don't know if what he's saying is true or what he is saying is for clicks. I'm not about to call the guy a liar. He's a smart man. He's very connected. Whether you like it or not, he's a connected guy who has a lot of stories to tell. But how many times have we heard that things are real from him that turn out not to be? How many closure dates have we had that never come to pass? Okay. There's all of this that just, it makes me question the credibility of the gentleman. I'm not saying he's always wrong. Okay. Like another example, a lot of people, you know, crap on Jeremy Corbell all the time because he's pompous, he's arrogant, he's confident in what he does and what he says. He speaks with conviction. Okay. And a lot of people will absolutely just jump on his back, ready to rip the shirt from him just because he speaks and opens his mouth. Right. And at times, I think Jeremy has been, you know, questioned a little too hard, but at times maybe not questioned hard enough. Okay, and it's the same thing with Greer. I think Dr. Greer is at the point now where when he speaks, even though he has a very large following, the majority of people in this field just roll their eyes and say, here he goes again.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I am one of those people when it comes to Greer. He's rather narcissistic. And despite him constantly saying, I briefed these presidents on the current state of UAPs, or I went into this room with this guy who showed me all, like, he never brings receipts. It's always his word that we're just supposed to take as the honest truth. I think in the 90s with the press club, the stuff that he put together for that big panel was fantastic. But over the years, I think he's gotten really involved with wanting to be some sort of a ambassador of the Earth to the extraterrestrials that are visiting us. If you ascribe to that thought process, but I mean, and so because of that kind of want to be something more than what anyone I think has really asked him to be, he kind of rubs people the wrong way. But I don't know. I try to say, like, even a clock is right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, I'm going to add to what you're saying, though. If you look at, let's use Jeremy Corbell as an example here for a second. When you talk about receipts, you hear Tim Burchett, you hear Anna Polina Luna, Nancy Mace, whoever the politician is that is in the conspiracy club. Okay. They are quoting Corbell. They are retweeting Corbell. They are, getting his word out. Jeremy showed me this video. Somehow Jeremy got that video out. Everything is Jeremy. And he could show the receipts that he's talking to these people. We don't know who Greer is talking to.
Right.
They never quote him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he did come up in Ross Coulthart's interview with some of the Jake Barber guys. Greer was mentioned in one interview for like 30 seconds, and then he wasn't mentioned again in any of the other interviews. So supposedly what I gather from the interview is the hard drives that had to be rescued from the bottom of a lake were returned to Greer. That's what I gathered from that one interview where he's mentioned for 30 seconds. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's no one quoting him. There's no one reading from something that he wrote or said in these hearings. And I think it's because he is rather controversial. And no one really wants to tie their name to his, because he's also rather, unpredictable. You don't really know what he's going to say or who he's going to endorse or be endorsed by.
And that's a good point. That's a good point right there. I mean, you don't see politicians reaching out to endorse Dr. Stephen Greer like you do with Jeremy Corbell or other people within the community. I mean, you look at his public blowout with Lou Elizondo, where Elizondo said on this show, I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
And he was saying it jokingly about Greer, but that's what it was about. Right. And I often wonder whether or not, when he comes out with something like you just said, how do we trust him?
Yeah.
How do we trust what he says? I want to. Okay. I've watched a number of his documentaries. They're very well done. And he's very well versed. I don't know how many takes it took, but he seems very well versed in the subject. He's not a dummy. But the disclosure is near. It's next year. It's 2027. It's 2035. It's going back in time to 2012. I mean, at what point do you think the UFO community even takes him seriously anymore?
I mean, obviously they do, because he just had an event here outside of Phoenix, and it was a sold out event at $1,500 a seat. So somebody takes him serious and they shell out the money to show up and, listen to him talk. And, then he does a CE5 one night for everybody who pays more than the base price to do so. So there are still people obviously supporting him. He has a pretty big following on the social media places where, people look into his stuff. So I think he garners the attention of folks because he's somewhat mysterious, right? Because he never really provides receipts, but he has captured some interesting looking videos and pictures that, to my knowledge, he never provides to anybody the original copies of for them to be able to investigate the validity of whatever it is. Because in his mind, it is valid. He doesn't need somebody to investigate it and tell him he's valid.
And the other thing, too, that I think hurts him is you take the summoning aspect where he's charging anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a weekend to summon in UFOs, which somebody could do in their backyard for free.
Yep. And with little to no pomp and circumstance. I mean, you determine the amount of ceremony you want to put into that summoning activity. I do have his app. I bought it years ago, but I mean, it was like, I think when I bought it, it was $20 for the app. And I think now it's $10. So it came down a little bit, but still it's not worth $20. The meditation that he does as a part of the contact modality is horrible.
Wizard, thank you for the UFO report. We'll talk to you a couple nights' time as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Josh, I've often wondered about how much Greer charged. What's her name? Demi Lovato for the.
I'm barely hearing you, man.
Hold on. I often wondered how much Greer charged Demi Lovato for the course.
I don't think it was free.
Oh, I'll guarantee you it was for the publicity.
I don't know. I feel like he still would have charged her something. Like he may not have charged her full, but I think he still probably charged her something.
Never know. Never know. Or even Logan Paul.
I thought that there was a documentary that came out that Greer put out a couple of maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, and it was presented as this Australian news investigator was felt fishy about Greer and like this all the CE5 stuff, and she was going to go out and find the truth. But if you actually pay attention in the documentary, when you get to the end and you view the credits, it was produced by Stephen Greer. So he basically made a faux investigative film that was really just, propaganda for his stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all it was. So,
Well, I just find it interesting, and like I said, I want to believe the guy. I know people who know him who say Greer is a nice guy, but I mean, when you look at the money he's charging and the people who are following it, I hate the word grift. I'm not going to say he's a grifter because I hate that term.
yeah.
I think it's been overblown in this field for far too long, especially when you have the people accusing him of grifters begging for super chats at the same time on their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right? Talk about an oxymoron, right? But I mean, oh yeah, okay. But I guess I kind of look at it like, what are we doing here? Like, everybody, in my opinion, is allowed to make money on doing what they love.
Oh yeah. Right.
But I mean, that's why I've always, like, with the summoning aspect of everything, I've always tried to tell our audience, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
If you want to summon, this is how you do it. Right.
But I think that there are always going to be some people who need or who feel like they need some person to be the guide, if you will, in that endeavor. They're the same, and I don't mean anything. I don't mean anything against anybody religious, but they're the same people who think that they have to go to church in order to be spiritual. So they're always going to seek out some quote unquote leader to help them navigate the complexities of life. And that's fine. I have nothing against that. It's just, in my opinion, that leader needs to offer those services for free. The fact that he charges to sit in a circle with him is like somehow he's special to the event, that only he can bring them in. If that was the case, he wouldn't be selling a CE5 app that encourages everybody to do it in their home. So that's the part that I struggle with. I don't have if he wants to have a seminar over a weekend and they go through some, he shows some receipts of that seminar and he shows these pictures and things and they talk about how to take pictures of aliens, all this kind of stuff. That's great. The CE5 though should be considered a free portion of that event, not an additional cost in order to participate.
I would agree with that. But I mean, in a way, Skywatcher did the same thing. All they did was change the name to psionics.
Yeah. I mean, the whole conscious contact modality has been around for probably thousands of years. I mean, Greer started out, he started his modality when he was doing yoga. Yoga's thousands of years old. So, I mean, it's not, I don't think he's doing anything new. I think he just found a new way to market it. That's all. So, well, hey man, I'm going to hop out of here.
Yeah, you get going, buddy. I appreciate you for a good night. We'll talk to you in a couple of nights' time.
Sounds great.
All right, brother.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. That's our good friend, the Wizard. Right there. Just call him the Wizard. He likes it. He told me. Like this. Download that. There we go. What do you guys think? Wizard? Should we call him the Wizard? Let's take a look at it again. This does look like him. I don't know. I don't care what what Josh says. That is totally Josh. Do you agree with that? Deborah Rooney, how are you? Flat 6, nice to see you. Who else hopped in here late? Human Carl coming in late. Look at you go, Human Carl. Were you partying at the bingo earlier tonight, Human Carl? Be honest. So I heard some of them bingo parties could get a little wild. PRM, how you doing? I think it sticks. I think it sticks. I do. That's me. Or we could give him Christian McLeod right there. Oh, look at that happy face. Look at that. That's the face of happiness right there. Push this over here. There we go. Move that there and there. Bingo, Human Carl. That's exactly what we're talking about right there. So let's normalize this first. That's a little too quiet. Click on that. Do you think Dr. Greer is jealous that he hasn't been called to testify yet? You think that might be it? I'm curious your comments. Paste. Click that out. Cut that. Cut that right there. There is SOR1. Man, Human Carl is on board with that one. Oh, Parabarf, boom. Maybe Greer was called to testify, but they didn't want to pay his appearance fee. Oh, my. Look at you go. Come on. Let's go this way now. Still getting used to this editor update. Not used to it yet. Right, that's a good place to cut right there. And cut right there. God, the levels look good on this. Let's see how they sound tonight. Here's for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our
Much longer than I've been at this.
That worked perfectly. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking with filmmaker D. Oh, that sounds just beautiful. I had to make a little adjustment from last week because last week's audio was a little bit too hot. Man, that turned out well. That sounds absolutely beautiful. But it does make you wonder, though. You know what I'm saying? It totally makes you wonder just about what is the motivation of it all. And like I said, I don't mean to sound like I'm slamming Stephen Greer. That isn't what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is, are we at the point where we, when, kind of like the boy who cried wolf or the boy who cried the sky is falling. Are we at that point now with him? And like Human Carl said about Greer saying that before the hearings he was going to bring out a bunch of whistleblowers, and it never happened. How many times have we heard these grandiose things that he was going to do, and it just never happened, right? And I don't think that's being rude asking that. And remember, guys, I tried to get him for an interview here a number of years ago. And one of the first questions he asked me was how many people would be listening? What are the numbers like? How many, can you provide me questions that you're going to want to ask me? I declined the interview after that. Urzvets? Is that how it's pronounced? Urzvets? Strakensky? Urzvets? Okay, so Swamp Dog I could have made a little bit louder. All right. Peppa H, how are you? I did not see the video, Polly. I did not. Is that a hard G or a soft G? Is it Ergi or Ergi? Erzhivets. Soft Erzhivets. Where are you from? I got to see if I could put a point on my. I always ask where everybody's from because I actually have a map of the world that I can put pins in. It's one of the little things I like to do. Oh, you're boring in Salt Lake. My goodness. Here I was thinking you were some, Eastern European country. Here, Salt Lake City. No, I'm teasing. That's awesome. Thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate it. That's awesome. Let's see if we got that. Give me 2 seconds, guys. What one am I missing? Oh, damn it. I did that too. All right. Hold on. Totally did that. What a jerk. What a jerk. Open file. There it is. Put that there. There we go. All right. And we can put these 6 in here. Move Josh AI over here and get rid of that one. And then we can feed this to our radio stations. Where are we? Right there. Upload. Who's on tomorrow night? Mark Leslie, Haunted Hospitals and Ghosts of the Great Lakes. That's going to be fun. Get a little paranormal action in there for us all, huh? Huh? What do you think? What do you think? Oh, Deborah Rooney, you're a sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you for that super chat. Never feed radio stations breakfast for dinner. Never. Never do that. I care for them too much. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hold on. Excuse me. All right. And big thanks to all of you for tuning us in. Phew. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. I love the allergies. Just want them to stop, man. Just want them to stop. That's all I want. And here we go again. For frick's sakes. Sorry about that. So sorry. So sorry. On that note, before I continue my sneezing, gonna let you all go. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you to Deborah Rooney, Alaska's greatest athlete, and Kitty Caddywhack for a great night of super chats. Thank you for Polly for becoming our latest member on our YouTube channel. I'm going to bed. You guys go to bed too. It's that time. It's late. It's late. We'll talk to you all tomorrow, okay? Mark Leslie, our guest. We'll get into the paranormal. See you tomorrow night.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.